improvised explosive device,
Oh, he's
a
gonna
weapon
bomb a school.
investigators later lay financial crimes that threatened to destroy everything.
Oh, he was stealing
His
people
software
money.
Sarah's discovery of Bradley's affairs had begun 3 months earlier. Footage showed her stepping forward and drawing the weapon moments later. Elena fired 6 shots, striking Cameron 4 times in the torso. Jonathan had been driving home from an all-night drinking session when his vehicle struck Emma at 45 miles per hour, throwing her small body 30 feet into a chain-link fence.
Worst revenge deaths ever recorded.
For these 6 individuals, betrayal and injustice became the catalyst for deadly vengeance. From business partnerships gone wrong to family betrayals.
Oh, story number 1.
October 14th, 2015, and the autumn evening cast long shadows across a private marina in Seattle, where local business owners and investors gathered for their monthly networking event. The docks buzzed with clinking glasses and quiet conversations
Imagine being
as
on a yacht
guests
party
celebrated
like this.
another successful quarter. Trevor Blackwood adjusted his designer suit as he mingled among the crowd on his 60-foot yacht, his
so that was
confident
his yacht.
smile masking months of building anxiety. At 42,
He did
the
something he wasn't
successful
supposed to.
software entrepreneur had built his reputation on innovation and trustworthiness, but behind the facade lay financial crimes that threatened to destroy everything.
he was stealing
His
people money.
software company had become one of Seattle's most promising startups,
Oh, yeah,
but
he's
Trevor
definitely
had been
stealing people
secretly siphoning funds into offshore accounts for over 2 years.
I knew it.
Trevor's former business
Oh, he's
partner and
crook.
childhood friend, Daniel Rodriguez, had discovered the embezzlement 6 months earlier when inconsistencies led to a devastating audit. The betrayal
stole
had
from his
cost
own
Daniel his
homie.
life savings,
He backdoored
home,
his own homie.
marriage, and custody of his 2 young children. Daniel had trusted Trevor completely, even signing over temporary power of attorney while hospitalized for surgery, a decision Trevor quietly used to access company accounts. The discovery had sent Daniel into a downward spiral of depression and rage. Forced to move into his car after losing his
He backdoored his homie is crazy. His homie trusted him with his own life, gang. That's crazy. And he backdoored him. He snaked him like that was crazy. He's homeless now, lost everything.
house, he worked menial jobs while his former partner continued living in luxury. For 8 months,
Snake is
Daniel
a
had been
homie's
planning
crazy.
his revenge, studying Trevor's routines and learning he hosted yacht club gatherings on the second Tuesday of every month.
Buddy said, this is how I do you, yeah. Hey, go ahead and time yourself out, gang. I'm not gonna lie. Go ahead and time yourself out. Appreciate it.
Daniel had secured a position with the catering company servicing
Crazy.
the events, working legitimate jobs for months to establish cover, while fantasizing about confronting the man who destroyed his life. That
Crazy
evening,
work.
Daniel arrived wearing the catering uniform,
he's
his
stuck
face
on the
hidden
yacht.
beneath a baseball cap as he carried trays through the crowd. He watched Trevor for over an hour, waiting for the perfect moment when his former partner would be alone. The opportunity came when Trevor stepped onto the yacht's upper deck for a private phone
Y'all- what
call.
y'all think don't
According
do?
to
What
Daniel's
y'all-
later
what's he gonna
confession
do?
to
What y'all think?
investigators, he followed up the narrow stairs, heart pounding as he prepared for the confrontation he had rehearsed countless times. When Trevor ended his call and turned around, the shock of recognition was immediate. Daniel
he
revealed
caught
bank
slipping.
statements and transfer records proving the extent of Trevor's financial crimes.
he caught
Trevor's
slipping.
surprise quickly turned to arrogance as he dismissed Daniel's accusations and threatened to have him arrested for trespassing.
Yeah, that's where he messed up there. Yeah, see, that's where he messed up right there. See, that's where he messed up right there. I feel like in this situation, if you're like this and you get confronted by somebody that lost everything, bro, and it was your fault, and you get arrogant with the nigga, oh yeah, he lost everything. He has nothing to lose, bro. Hey, he has nothing to lose, bro. Like I'm pretty sure if you said if Trevor said sorry and tried to make up for it, he'd still be alive today. I'm not gonna lie. I guarantee you he'd still be alive today.
The callous response triggered something
Telling
primal
you.
in Daniel, who lunged at his former friend with
told
years
you.
of pent-up rage.
I
The
told
two
you.
men struggled violently near the yacht's railing, their fight hidden from party guests below. During the struggle, Trevor lost his footing and fell backward over the railing, plunging 15 feet into the dark waters of Puget Sound. Daniel watched in stunned silence as Trevor thrashed in the cold water, calling for help that Daniel chose not to provide. Within minutes, Trevor had disappeared beneath the surface.
Yeah,
Daniel
he's cooked.
calmly returned to his catering duties. The splash had gone unheard amid the music and chatter
Crazy.
from nearby boats, and by the time anyone realized
Why, he
Trevor
couldn't-
was missing,
he couldn't
nearly an
swim?
hour had passed. Security
Could he not swim, gang? I'm just saying. I mean, I know the water's freezing, but could he not swim? Could he not swim? Like, imagine owning a yacht and you can't swim. Like, You feel me? Like, you couldn't swim just a little bit to save your life. You feel me?
Cameras captured Daniel leaving at shift's end, but the death was initially ruled accidental drowning. The guilt consumed Daniel over following weeks, driving him to send anonymous tips that directed investigators back to Trevor's financial crimes. When police traced the emails to Daniel's work computer, he confessed, saying Trevor's death brought him no satisfaction. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison.
He would have never got caught too. He would have never got caught.
It was June 7th, 2016, and the summer heat in Nashville reached 89 degrees as the city's music industry prepared for another busy evening. In the affluent Belmead neighborhood, sprawling homes sat quietly behind manicured lawns and wrought iron gates. Sarah Morrison stood in her granite kitchen, carefully preparing her husband's favorite meal, her hands steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to do. At 45, the former registered nurse had spent 15 years married to Bradley Morrison, a successful country music producer whose infidelities had finally pushed her beyond the breaking point. Her medical background had given her access to knowledge that most scorned wives could never obtain. Sarah's discovery of Bradley's affairs had begun 3 months earlier, when she found explicit messages on his phone. The evidence revealed a pattern of cheating involving multiple women from the music industry. Bradley had been using their joint accounts to fund expensive gifts and weekend getaways with his mistresses, spending money Sarah had helped earn through her nursing career. The betrayal had been devastating, but Sarah's response was methodical.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie to you. So he cheating on her and taking her money, gang? Hey, he's a demon. He's a demon for that. He's Ashley Bold for that. I would be scared to death to do that, bro. You're cheating and you're taking her money to spend on other females? Oh yeah, he's cooked.
She spent weeks documenting evidence while pretending to work on their marriage, secretly researching difficult-to-detect compounds during night shifts at a Nashville hospital. She obtained the compound through an anonymous online purchase, later traced to an account registered to the household. Her pharmaceutical knowledge provided the perfect weapon. According to her later confession, Sarah had chosen a slow-acting neurotoxin that would mimic heart attack symptoms, difficult to detect in standard autopsies. She practiced timing and dosage for weeks, calculating the exact amount needed to ensure Bradley's death while avoiding suspicion. That evening, she served Bradley his anniversary dinner with his favorite wine, into which she had mixed the compound. Phone logs and timestamps later confirmed the timing Sarah described. She sat with him for about 30 minutes as he began showing signs of distress. Bradley reportedly attributed his chest pains to stress from work and discussed his latest recording project, unaware his wife was orchestrating his death. Sarah expressed concern and suggested he rest, maintaining her composure as his condition deteriorated. Records show she waited 12 minutes before calling 911, ensuring paramedics would arrive too late. When first responders entered, she was performing CPR and providing medical details with professional precision. Bradley was pronounced dead 45 minutes later. Initial results listed cardiac arrest, but extended toxicology, ordered after examiners noted unusual organ markers, detected trace amounts of a rare cardiac-affecting compound. Sarah's medical background initially made her seem unlikely, but her documentation of Bradley's affairs provided clear motive when police searched their computer. Investigators matched an online purchase traced to the household with microscopic residue recovered from the decanter and confronted Sarah with the evidence. She confessed, explaining she wanted Bradley to experience the same betrayal she had felt. Sarah was sentenced to life without parole, showing no remorse. And
she should have took everything from the hospital, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Using digital currency, that's easy to track back to you, bro. She wasn't thinking. She's not the smartest tool in the shed, as they say, you know.
Stating Bradley deserved his fate.
Story number 3.
It was March 18th, 2014, and the spring afternoon sun beat down on the asphalt parking lot of a Phoenix high school, where the temperature had already reached 95 degrees. The sprawling campus sat empty except for a few cars belonging to teachers and students attending after-school activities, creating the perfect setting for a confrontation that had been building for over 2 years. Nathan Williams sat in his beat-up Honda Civic, watching the school's main entrance through dark sunglasses as he waited for his target to appear. At 16, the quiet sophomore had endured relentless bullying from Kyle Henderson, a popular senior whose torment had escalated from verbal abuse to to physical
finna shoot the
violence
school up for
and
that.
public humiliation. Nathan's grades had suffered, his social life had disappeared, and his mental health had deteriorated to the point where revenge seemed like his only option. Kyle's bullying campaign had begun during Nathan's freshman year,
That's why you
starting
shouldn't
with
bully.
name-calling before evolving into serious harassment. Kyle had recruited other students to participate, creating videos of Nathan being pushed and humiliated that
That's
were
literally why
posted
you
on
shouldn't bully.
social media for the
Oh,
entire
yeah.
school to
He's
see.
finna shoot up the
The
whole school.
psychological torture had been systematic and cruel, designed to isolate Nathan completely from his peers. Nathan's parents had repeatedly contacted school administrators, but their complaints were dismissed or resulted in ineffective interventions that only made
So the
Kyle's
school didn't
behavior
care?
worse. The school's anti-bullying policies existed
school
on
didn't do
paper
anything
but were
about
rarely
this.
enforced, leaving vulnerable students to fend for themselves. The system's failure had pushed Nathan toward increasingly dark thoughts about revenge. Over the past
Oh, he's
6
finna
months,
shoot up the
Nathan had
school.
quietly collected parts and pieced together a crude, improvised explosive device,
Oh, he's
a
finna
weapon
bomb the school.
investigators later described in vague forensic terms. He'd rehearsed the timing and worked the plan around the school's rhythms. Rather than placing it in the middle of a crowded lunch, Nathan had slipped the device into position during a quieter window earlier that day, when the lot was largely empty. The bomb detonated when Kyle returned to his truck, the blast
Oh.
destroying the vehicle and
He
killing
blew
him
up his own
instantly.
vehicle?
The bomb was designed to detonate when Kyle started his engine. Based on
Oh, that's a
surveillance
dangerous
footage
kid.
and Nathan's later confession, investigators determined that Kyle entered his truck shortly before 4 p.m. Moments after the ignition engaged, a blast
blew up.
erupted from beneath the vehicle, destroying it instantly and killing Kyle on impact. The explosion shattered windows in the nearby school building
That's
and damaged
crazy.
several vehicles, creating chaos that brought emergency responders racing to campus. Witnesses later reported seeing Nathan leave the area shortly after the blast. He was arrested 3 hours later at his home, where police recovered a detailed confession
That's
letter on his
crazy.
desk. Nathan
That's
was
crazy.
charged as an adult with premeditated murder. The school faced intense scrutiny
The school
for its
has
failure
to,
to
bro.
address the repeated bullying, and Nathan's parents later filed lawsuits that exposed the administration's
get out?
negligence.
Like, I know he got time for it, but do you think this is really the school's fault for not handling this accordingly? Do you think he's in white for that, or do you think he got off for a couple of years, bro? Because they really sued the whole state in the school for that. So you think he got off for that, and he probably even got paid for it? Is the crazy part. He probably got paid for that too. So he got a body and got paid for it.
It was December 3rd, 2017, and the winter evening brought an early darkness to
Digga,
downtown
bro.
Chicago.
Digga.
The city's financial district had already emptied, leaving a 40-story office tower nearly deserted, except for a few guards and employees working late. David Park sat in his rental car in the building's underground parking garage, his hands trembling from both the cold and adrenaline coursing through his veins.
What is he finna do?
At 38, the former accounting manager had spent
he was
the
stealing
last
money.
8 months planning his revenge
was
against
stealing money.
Patricia Wells, the human resources director who had destroyed his life by exposing his embezzlement
You
and
killed her
ensuring his
'cause
criminal
she thought you was
prosecution.
stealing money?
David's world had collapsed when Patricia discovered his theft of company funds, leading to his termination, arrest, and the
How much
loss
did
of
he steal?
everything he had worked to build. David's embezzlement had started small, with minor adjustments to expense reports and petty cash withdrawals that he justified as compensation for his underpaid position.
Yeah,
Over
alright,
2
bro.
years, the
Alright,
amounts had
bro.
grown larger as David became more confident in manipulating the company's financial systems. He had been stealing approximately $2,000 per month, money used to maintain his lifestyle and support his family's expensive tastes. Patricia's discovery had been thorough and devastating.
I'm not gonna lie, Bobby said L snitch, but in my opinion, if he cut her off some, I think she wouldn't have told. I'm not gonna lie to you. She might not have told. He should have cut her off some. That's the issue. I guarantee you, he knew that she found out, and he didn't cut her enough. He didn't cut her piece off. That's his issue. Like, you gotta keep people quiet. If he cut her off some, cause she's HR. If he cut her off some, man, he'd still have his job. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Revealing not just recent crimes but a pattern of financial manipulation stretching back to David's first year. Her investigation uncovered
she found it
forged
from the
receipts,
beginning.
falsified vendor payments, and unauthorized transfers totaling over $50,000. Patricia had presented the evidence to
50?
company executives with clinical precision. The
he
criminal
was stealing,
charges
stealing.
that followed destroyed David's marriage, cost him his home,
Oh, he
and
lost
left him
his marriage?
unemployed and unemployable. His wife had taken their children and moved across the country,
Oh, he
citing
can't
the
do
shame
nothing.
David had brought upon their family. David had been living in
lost
a cheap
everything.
motel for months, working odd jobs and planning revenge against the woman who exposed his
lost
crimes.
everything.
David had been studying the tower's security systems and Patricia's routines for weeks, learning she often worked late on Sunday evenings when the building was nearly
That's why
empty.
you always gotta
According to
switch up your
surveillance
your
footage
stuff,
and
bro.
recovered
Always
evidence,
switch up your
David used a
patterns.
fake security uniform to gain access to the underground garage. Footage later reviewed by investigators showed Patricia's silver BMW pulling into her reserved space near the elevator bank. David approached as she gathered her
Oh,
belongings,
man.
his counterfeit badge
He kinda
visible while he
lacking.
claimed there had been reports of suspicious
lacking,
activity.
twin.
Investigators noted that Patricia appeared momentarily hesitant, but did not realize he was armed. Building cameras and Patricia's phone records confirmed
he
that
kinda
David forced
lacking.
her into the elevator at gunpoint, pressing the
Ooh.
button for the 23rd floor where her office was located.
Is he
During
gonna-
the tense
is he gonna throw
ride,
out the-
he instructed her to
he gonna
call her
throw her out?
family while holding the weapon to her head. Audio recovered from the call captured Patricia's calm voice as she tried not to alarm her husband. Security logs and hallway footage reconstructed the next sequence. David led
Oh,
Patricia
Lord.
to her office and forced her to sit at her desk while he ranted about his prosecution and the collapse of his family. Patricia remained composed, occasionally attempting to reason with him. When guards responded to reports of shouting from the 23rd floor, David panicked and fired twice before fleeing toward the stairwell. Police
Oh!
body camera footage and incident
altered.
reports indicated that officers cornered David between the 15th and 16th floors, where he turned the gun on himself rather than surrender.
Oh yeah, he pussy. I'm not gonna lie to you. Hey yo, he's a L man's, bro. He's a L man's. No way he took somebody's life and then wasn't even man enough to suffer the consequences for it. So he took his own life, bro. Yeah, he's looking up at us right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. Hey, buddy's looking up at us right now. I'm gonna keep it a buck. He's down there with King Vaughn. He's having the time of his life. He's having the time of his life. He's looking up at us right now. RP. Looking up at us right now, Dan. You're looking up at us right now. No cap. Like, that is actually crazy. You don't take somebody's life and then take your own. That's so pussy, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. That's actually insane.
Both victims died from their wounds, closing a chain of events that began with David's decision to steal from his employer.
Come on, bro.
The investigation later exposed serious weaknesses in the tower's access control system and resulted in lawsuits against both the building management company
There had
and
to be
David's
lawsuits in
former
that, bro.
employer.
Like, no way he
Patricia's
could've gotten
family
in
went
there,
on to
right?
establish a
Access to that
foundation
too.
supporting workplace violence prevention.
That's crazy.
It was August 29th, 2013, and the late summer heat in Austin reached 102 degrees as the city's vibrant downtown district prepared for another busy evening of dining
are
and
you at home?
entertainment. The popular restaurant scene along South Congress Avenue attracted locals and tourists alike, creating a bustling atmosphere that masked the deadly drama about to unfold in one establishment's parking lot. Elena Vasquez sat in her car across the street from a downtown restaurant, watching through tinted windows as her ex-boyfriend Cameron Rodriguez worked his evening shift as the restaurant's manager. At 27, Elena had been consumed by thoughts of revenge for the 6 months since discovering Cameron's affair with her younger sister Maria, a betrayal that had destroyed not only their 3-year relationship, but also her relationship with her family. The discovery had sent Elena into a spiral of depression and rage that therapy had failed to address. Cameron's affair with Maria had continued for over a year before Elena discovered it. According to later family statements,
actually
the two had
crazy.
met frequently at Elena's apartment while she worked her nursing shifts. Family members told investigators that the confrontation that followed was heated and led to a permanent break within the household. After the discovery, Elena became estranged from both her partner and her family. Statements from relatives described how Maria, once her closest confidant, maintained contact with their parents, while Elena withdrew completely. When Maria
This is
later
crazy.
announced her pregnancy with Cameron's child, family records show that their parents chose to support her, leaving
Oh, that's
Elena
even
isolated.
crazier.
Court records show Elena had been seeing a therapist and was prescribed antidepressants during that period.
They said
Purchase
forgive her
receipts
other
and
daughter.
range
They said
logs
forgive her other
confirm she
daughter.
legally bought a .38 caliber revolver and practiced at a local shooting range for several weeks. Friends later told investigators she claimed she was learning self-defense. Investigators found planning notes and messages indicating she intended to confront Cameron in public. Evidence and staff statements established that Cameron typically left the restaurant around 10 p.m. on weeknights with a hostess named Jessica.
That's an
That
L
predictable
man's, though.
routine gave Elena repeated opportunities
That's
to
an L
observe
man's.
and plan her approach. That evening, witness statements and security footage later confirmed that Elena waited in the restaurant's parking lot until Cameron and Jessica emerged from the building, laughing and holding hands as they walked toward Cameron's car. Elena approached them with the revolver concealed in her purse. Footage showed her stepping forward and drawing the weapon moments later. Cameron appeared to notice her and stepped in front of Jessica as the confrontation began. Elena fired 6 shots, striking Cameron 4 times in the torso. Jessica screamed and nearby patrons took cover behind parked cars. When the gun was empty, Elena placed it on the ground and sat on the curb, remaining there until police arrived minutes later. She was arrested without resistance and later pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, expressing remorse for the killing, but stating in court that anger over the betrayal had driven her actions. Jessica required extensive therapy to cope with the trauma of witnessing the shooting, while Elena's family was further torn apart by the revelation that Maria's affair had led to murder. Elena was sentenced to life in prison, where she continues to serve her sentence while Cameron...
Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. Do y'all blame Jessica is a bitch? Like, hold on. Like, why do you take your sister's man for one, okay? Why do you take your sister's man for one? Like, that's your blood, bro. That's your half. You feel me? And then you gonna take your sister's boyfriend for yourself? That's selfish. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's selfish for one. And two, like, and then the parents supported it. Like, at this point, I see why she did it. I see why she did it. Like, I don't blame her for doing it. Like, I really don't blame her for doing it. Jessica, bitch. Cameron, buddy right here got knocked off because he wanted to mess with the other person's sister. Yeah, you said W Mans for getting what he wants. Yeah, she got what she wanted at the end too. Him dead. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not gonna lie to you, bro. Not gonna lie to you.
His family struggles to understand how a relationship dispute could have escalated to such deadly violence.
What do you mean?
The restaurant where Cameron worked installed a memorial plaque in his honor and implemented new security measures to protect their staff from similar incidents.
Nothing like that will probably happen again, bro. I'm gonna keep the buck with you. Not that
It was February 11th, 2018, and the winter snow in Denver had created treacherous driving conditions throughout the city, with black ice covering the roads, where 8-year-old Emma Williams had been struck and killed 6 months earlier.
No.
The intersection of Maple Street and 15th Avenue had become a shrine of flowers and teddy bears, a constant reminder to Robert Williams of the daughter he had lost and the justice he had been denied. Robert sat in his pickup truck outside Murphy's Tavern, watching through the frosted windshield as Jonathan Pierce celebrated his 34th birthday with friends inside the dimly lit bar. At 41, the grieving father had spent every day since his daughter's death planning this moment. Court testimony and psychological evaluations later described Robert as fixated on the perceived injustice of the lenient 18-month sentence that Jonathan had received for the hit-and-run accident.
18 months? You're telling me he only got 18 months, gang? He only got 18 months for hitting and killing an 8-year-old? And fleeing the scene? Only 18 months? Oh yeah, I'd be heated too. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're telling me 18 months? He only got 18 months for killing a little kid? As a father, bro, I want revenge too. Blood is definitely gonna be on my hands too. I'm not gonna blame him. Bro. Whatever this man does to this man for killing his daughter, and he only got 18 months, and it wasn't enough justice. I don't blame whatever happens to this man. I don't blame the father for it.
That had destroyed Robert's world. Court records show the charges were reduced after defense attorneys argued that Pierce's alcoholism required treatment rather than incarceration. Police reports and witness statements later confirmed that Pierce's BMW struck Emma as she crossed Maple Street on a Tuesday morning as she walked to school along her usual route, a path she had taken safely hundreds of times before. Jonathan had been driving home from an all-night drinking session when his vehicle struck Emma at 45 miles per hour, throwing her small body 30 feet into a chain-link fence. Robert had been walking behind Emma, planning to surprise her with a lunch visit at school, and had watched helplessly as his daughter died in his arms.
He saw the whole thing? No, he saw the whole thing?
Her with a lunch visit at school, and had watched helplessly as his daughter died in his arms while Jonathan fled the scene. The investigation had quickly identified Jonathan through witness descriptions and damage to his vehicle, but his family's wealth and connections had influenced every
Noah said not on why her fault, buddy. All right, gang.
Every aspect of his prosecution. Jonathan served only 14 months in a minimum security facility that resembled a country club more than a prison.
Scammers
And it wasn't
demand
even a
payment with
prison,
gift
it was more of a
cards.
country
Don't share
club.
codes or
Oh, yeah,
personal
I-
details.
Robert had attended every court hearing,
Whatever this
watching
father
in
does, I don't care.
disbelief
You're right,
as
that
the
card
justice system failed his daughter. Robert's marriage had collapsed under the weight of grief and anger, with his wife Sarah unable to cope with his obsession with revenge and his descent into alcoholism. She had moved to California with their surviving son, leaving Robert alone in the house where Emma's bedroom remained exactly as she had left it. Robert had lost his job as a construction foreman due to his drinking and erratic behavior, spending his days researching Jonathan's activities and planning his revenge. Investigators later found surveillance
Jonathan
notes and
finna
phone
die.
records confirming
Gonna
he
have
had
to.
tracked Pierce's movements for weeks before the killing, learning his routines and waiting for the perfect opportunity to confront him. Jonathan had returned to his previous lifestyle of heavy drinking and partying after his release from prison,
learn nothing.
showing no apparent remorse for Emma's
remorse.
death. That evening, Robert waited in the tavern's parking lot until Jonathan emerged alone, stumbling slightly from the alcohol he had consumed during his birthday celebration. Robert approached him with a tire iron concealed behind his back, his heart pounding as he prepared to avenge his daughter's death. When Jonathan saw Robert approaching, he showed no recognition or concern, treating the encounter as a minor inconvenience. Robert confronted
Oh,
Jonathan
no.
about Emma's death,
Oh,
showing
no.
him photos of his daughter's funeral and describing the impact of her loss on his family. According to Robert's later confession, Pierce dismissed his accusations and told him to move on, triggering the assault. Witnesses in
move
nearby
on?
vehicles reported hearing
After
shouting
killing him?
moments before the assault began. Robert began beating Jonathan with the tire iron while screaming his daughter's name. Robert continued the assault
my-
long after Jonathan had stopped moving, his grief and anger pouring out in a frenzy of violence that left Jonathan's body barely recognizable. When his
He beat
rage
the
was
mess
finally
out of him.
spent, Robert sat down next to the body and called 911. Confessing to the murder while waiting for police to arrive. Robert was sentenced to 15 years in prison, with the judge acknowledging the emotional circumstances that had led to the crime, while condemning the vigilante justice. The case divided public opinion, with many sympathizing with
dad.
Robert's grief, while others condemned his decision to take the law into his own hands.
No, bro,
Emma's
no.
story became
The law didn't do nothing for him. The law gave him 14 months in a country club instead of an actual prison, bro. Let's be for real. He watched his daughter get hit with the car gang and watched this man cowardly drive off and flee away. Let's be for real, bro. Any dad in that situation that loves their child like that, they're getting that get back, bro. I don't condone killing people, but hey, W dad, that's all I gotta say. I'm not gonna lie to you. W dad. W dad, bro. W dad. I'm not gonna lie to you.
a rallying point for stricter drunk driving laws and victims' rights advocacy, ensuring that her death would not be forgotten. Thanks for watching. Click the next video to
That's
discover
crazy.
more
That video
shocking
is
stories
crazy.
about
That video is actually crazy, bro. Actually crazy. He said W killed too. All right, buddy. Hey, this man said W killed too, bro. W killed.